you don't need to study the Nigerian standards on auditing in detail. Just know they exist. They were based on the international standards on auditing. But now, like we said, the Nigerian standards, the international standards on auditing, the Nigeria has now deployed and fully adopted the international standards on auditing. So that's it. So let's move on to the last unit. So that's NSA was very short and sweet. Now let's talk about the real world value of audits and actually their limitations. We want to talk about the real world of audits and their limitations, and we are in our final unit for your information. So this is where we step back and evaluate. Is an audit worth it? Is an audit worth it? What are the benefits? What are the drawbacks? That's what we'll be looking at in this conversation. So the first conversation is around the advantages of statutory audit. So why would a company want an audit, even if they are not legally required? There are good reasons for that. So think of an audit like a comprehensive health check, using this health check or health checkup analogy. You see, a comprehensive health check gives you confidence you are healthy. Talking about credibility, it confirms you are following medical advice, talking about compliance, and it gives you feedback on your lifestyle, talking about internal controls. So the advantages of an external audit has several benefits. Number one is credibility. Credibility. You see, it increases the credibility of financial statements or published financial statements. That's what an audit does. Number two, statutory compliance. It confirms to management that they have performed their statutory duties correctly. Another benefit. Number three is non-compliance, non-statutory compliance. You see, it provides assurance on compliance with corporate governance requirements. External audit provides that. Number four is feedback. External audit provides feedback or feedbacks on the effectiveness of internal controls with recommendations for improvements. And number five is lenders. Even when not required, an audit increases credibility for potential lenders who may insist on an audit as a precaution. So those are the good benefits of an audit. Credibility, number one. Statutory compliance, number two. Non-statutory compliance, number three. Feedback, number four. And lenders, number five. So with this mnemonic, you need to remember the advantages with this mnemonic, CCFL. Credibility increases, compliance to statutory duties, compliance to non-statutory duties, feedback on internal controls, then lenders, gives confidence to lenders. Now for balance, let's look at the limitations of statutory audit. To be honest, you see, audit has limitations. Audits are not perfect, and we won't pretend they are perfect. So think of an audit like a car service. See, the service is expensive. It disrupts your day. The mechanic makes estimates about parts. He can't guarantee that there are hidden problems. Checks a sample of components in your car, and he can't give absolute certainty. So you see, the limitations of an audit is number one, it has costs. Audits can be very expensive, though the additional cost may be small if the firm already does other work. Number two is disruption. You see, staff must assist with answering questions and providing documents, and that can disrupt day-to-day operations. Number three is audits are subjective. You see, some items are estimates. Truth and fairness, uncertain until the future. Truth and fairness are actually uncertain until the future. So the opinion is ultimately subjective and judgmental. Another disadvantage. Number four is fraud. You see, fraud includes deliberate concealment. It's hard to detect. And number five, disadvantage is sampling. Actually, auditors use sampling rather than testing every item, which is a significant disadvantage. Number six is inherent limitations. Audit has inherent limitations. You see, no system is perfect. So inherent limitations are also prevalent and always exist with audits. Then number seven is evidence. Audit evidence is actually persuasive. It's not conclusive. It's not absolute proof that there is no fraud. So to remember this with this acronym, the limitations, CDSFISC will help you remember, where you have the cost, which is high of audits. Most of the times you have disruption to operations, to staff that needs to respond to inquiries. Then so it's subjective, talking about estimates. Then there's concealment of fraud most of the time when there's collusion. And there also we have sampling. Can't sample, you can't check everything. You can't as auditors, you can't test all the population. Mostly it's not realistic. Then is inherent limitations, mostly in an audit. Then we have evidence, which is persuasive and not conclusive. So those are the limitations of statutory audit. So now let's look at a specific type of assurance, which is on internal controls. Internal control. So we're looking at assurance on internal control. So sometimes companies want assurance on their internal controls specifically, not just the financial statement. They want assurance on internal controls. So let's use the building plans versus the complete building analogy to drive this home. So imagine type 1 is like checking architectural plans of a building. Do they look suitable? That's a report on the design of controls. While type 2 is like inspecting the completed building. Did the plans actually work in practice? That's a report on the operating effectiveness of controls. So we have the director's responsibility. You see, directors are responsible for identifying business risks, for designing and implementing controls to address those risks. So we have the type 1 report where the design of the system, the control objectives, and the controls as at a specific date, and a reasonable assurance report on the suitability of those controls to achieve the objective is provided. While we have type 2 report where it's more detailed, it covers theoretical controls and whether they have achieved those objectives over a specified or specific period of time. And it includes the service audit or the service auditor's opinion on operating effectiveness and results of test of controls. So let's introduce the mnemonic. Remember the report type with DE. D is design, talking about type 1 report on suitability of controls, while E is the effectiveness on type 2 report on operating effectiveness, which is very, very important. Now, one more modern application of assurance, which we'll be looking at, which is corporate social responsibility and sustainability report, is a modern and an emerging issue on assurance. So here is where assurance is evolving. Under public pressure, entities are increasingly aware of social and environmental issues. So we use green credentials analogy in this slide to drive the point home. So think of sustainability report or reports like a company's green credentials. They show they care about the environment, and we have independent verification like a third-party certification that their claims are genuine. So why does this matter? It's because reputational risk, number one, can affect customer demand and investment. And it matters, number two, because companies publish social and environmental reports to demonstrate their social and environmental conscience. So the assurance here is that credibility can be added by independent verification from a firm of accountants or external experts. So with this mnemonic, remember CSR reports with RVA. Number one, reputation. To protect their reputation, they go into sustainability reports or provide sustainability reports. V is verification to ensure it's independent and that report has credibility. And A is assurance, adding credibility to the verification of that report, which is very, very important. So that brings us to the end of all the units, which we've looked at 6 of them in this first chapter on the concept and need of assurance. And let's wrap it up with a review. You see, we'll bring everything together. We've covered a lot and the 6 units in this chapter, and that will bring us to the end of the concept on the need for assurance. So here, by the end of this chapter, let's do a recap. We started by talking about why do we need auditors. We answered that through the concepts of stewardship and agency. And we defined what an audit is and what it's not. We also explored assurance as a broader concept. And we looked at the regulatory framework, the standards, and the bodies that can set them. We also weighed on the pros and cons, which are the advantages and disadvantages of assurance also. So the key takeaway here is that the most important thing to remember is that an audit or an auditor gives an opinion, not a guarantee. So we provide reasonable assurance, not absolute certainty, and we are independent professionals exercising judgment based on evidence. So before we finish, if you have any questions, please ask very, very freely. And now, before we move to the next chapter in our next class, you need to check that you can do these things and you also understand these things. You need to check that you can define the terms audit and assurance clearly and also explain the objectives of the independent auditor. Very importantly, you need to check that as you go back to read and practice. Next, you need to be able to check that you can explain the nature and scope of the audit, of an audit. You need to also check that you can explain the relationship between audit, assurance, and attestation. You also need to check that you can describe the regulatory framework relevant to statutory audit and also be able to explain the roles of IFAC and the IASB and understand the scope and source of ISAs. You should be able to also describe advantages and limitations of statutory audit and other assurance engagement. And should be able to also summarize the overall responsibilities of the independent auditor and management. And finally, you need to also understand the terms of independence, materiality, and true and fair view. So if you can confidently explain all this, then you are ready to move on and you are good to go on everything we've had this conversation on this fantastic topic. But if you're not able to explain any of this, then you need to review the material again and come back to me with your questions, and I'll gladly oblige to answer your questions. So thank you for your attention. And if you don't have any questions, I will see you in the next chapter. And until then, bye for now and have a lovely night rest. Good night.